Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. As always, my name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultants that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. Today with me is Pavel Sinelnikov, who's the CEO and founder of Metis DAC. We'll talk about Metis DAC a little bit later in the show, but first, Pavel, I wanted to ask you, so you have a new survey about remote work, and tell me a little bit more about the trends that you're seeing based on the survey for remote work in the next 5 years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gleb. Remote work. So as part of the survey, we found out a few key points. First, that remote work is here to stay, and employees are actively looking for opportunities that offer flexibility within that workplace. We also found that millennials are driving that change and opting out of traditional workplace structures. We also found that employees are looking for more decentralized companies that offer more independence and freedom to participate in management as well as decision-making while having less managerial oversight overall. And finally, that the DAO workforce is growing rapidly. A lot of it is exponential and will continue to overtake FANG in terms of companies.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about more remote work and generational transition trends, because I think that's an important finding from the survey. So we see that older bosses are trying to drive workers back into the office. And it was an interesting finding that specifically the millennials tend to want to spend more time working remotely, even compared to Gen Z, and of course, compared to Gen X and boomers. Why do you think that is? Do you have a sense of what's going on there?
So I think that millennials are the driving crowd because they're the ones that are that have previously worked in these different types of job positions. They're still early or earlier in their careers, but they've already experienced a lot of what traditional workplaces have to offer. And my interpretation is that because they have that previous experience, and they've also been, they're also willing to look for other additional opportunities to grow and expand their careers. I think that they're the ones that are going to be driving more so of that change.
And I know from the survey that about half of the participants would want to work full-time remotely from the survey, from the respondents. And we're seeing that align with the kind of positions that people are applying for. There are something like 15% of all positions are offered remotely, but they get something like 50. So 15% is offered remotely. They're getting 50% of applicants. Now, let's talk a little bit about these applicants and where they're going. I know that you run Metis DAC, which is a decentralized organization. And of course, the decentralized organizations do offer remote positions. So if somebody does want to work in a decentralized organization and let's say they want to work remotely and they have an option of working in a decentralized organization, tell me a little bit more about why they might want to consider such a job.
Absolutely. And in terms of Metis itself as an organization, so we are a company that's exclusively remote. So we don't have an operating office. So a lot of our employees are, in fact, people from all around the world. So having this type of option to essentially work from anywhere has allowed us to continuously expand and grow into different environments. And I think that a lot of the individuals, a lot of the staff that are working for Metis provide a very good diverse set of opinions and views. And I think that drives in a lot of the benefits of working for this type of organization, where you might have more ideas, thoughts, creativity, opinions that are different than how traditional based organizations might view things, but that leads to more innovation and progress, and we're able to more easily adapt our different structures. So I think that would be the main reason why people would want to join these types of remote-based companies.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the experience of someone. So let's say that they see a job ad for Métis, for a remote position, because you're all remote. So they apply for it. What would they experience? And let's say, I presume they have an interview process and they get the job. What would be their experience actually on the job? Because most people, the vast majority of people, don't know what it's like to work for a non-traditional company with the kind of decentralized structure. What would it be actually like? Tell me a little bit more about the inside view.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question in terms of the direction of onboarding. So when we as an organization we think of how do we make the process easier for users to understand, mm-hmm. as well as employees. We see that there needs to be a clear way to manage knowledge bases. So the very first thing that we do within employees that get onboarded is we give them access to a portal of information and resources that they would be able to review. Things like company culture documents, the additional documents related to like an organizational chart. Who's the point of contact? Who might be the person that knows this type of information? Getting them familiar with how the organization operates, who are the people that know that information, and bridging that gap between completely not knowing and knowing exactly who to go to if you have any questions. And so we do a similar methodology with our user onboarding process as well, because ours is more technically focused, and a lot of what we do is creating educational based content related to onboarding new users, and that fits into our employee onboarding process as well.
Now, in what ways is this decentralized organization going to be different from a traditional organization? So in terms of the employee experience, so you give them this document. Do they have a manager? What kind of responsibilities do they have? What kind of strategy do they fit into? Tell me a little bit more about that, so that people who have never worked in such a position would, if they're considering it as a long-term position, as part of their career journey, why should they consider it?
Mm-hmm. With the initial onboarding process, we've experimented with different types of models. So where we initially were was a very flat organizational structure. People were onboarded into the organization, and a majority of the time that they found things that were related to their specialty. One person was able to write articles very well. Another person was able to write technical pieces as well as code very well. Alongside the progression of the organization, there came in naturally leaders, which took on various levels and positions within the organization, and had a natural progression towards people that were able to organize the content in a more effective way. And certain people prefer type of managerial level guidance where people can have a point of contact. Some people prefer more freedom. And so having that ability to join in, experiment where you would want to be within the organization, and then choosing the role that best fits you. And within this structure, it is a semi-flat, semi-hierarchical structure where you know who knows the information, where you know who to reach out to based on the previous documents, but you also know where there might be things where you yourself can provide skills that you do better than other people, for example, and then you can grow and expand to those directions. So some people might be more so focused onto the article writing. So this is, by the way, more so business level procedures that I'm going over. I guess there's also development level procedures, but in the business, there's different types of specialties that people can choose. And so we want to provide a means to grow and expand into those specialties that people see themselves best fitting within.
Okay, so that's helpful in terms of career progression, in terms of job progression. How would so again, thinking about someone who is looking for a remote position and who is considering a job at a decentralized organization, how would someone be evaluated and compensated?
Typically, when doing evaluations for positions, so there's that initial interview style process where
Yes.
people are evaluated based on their skills, on their positions, very traditional ways. In where we see the progression taking place is very similar to what outputs are done. So it's a form of a meritocracy where although you might be onboarded to a role, you might be contributing more in that type of sector. And so we have a more dynamic, I would say, progression towards where different types of streams of productivity may lie. So we value more so of results and outputs and outcomes. And so having these accurate KPIs, we can say where we need to focus on and who would be responsible for these types of activities. And we also want people to be able to find creative and innovative ways to meet those KPIs and say, I've contributed my part to do this. And based on these performance metrics, we're able to evaluate different types of positions that would be more suited for them.
Okay, so that's helpful. So that people choose those performance metrics. How do you make sure that there's no good-hearting in terms of people, there being misalignment between what people do and the performance metric, like the outcome that you want and the kind of output that people do?
Typically, we've seen that the alignment is there. Everyone has the same direction within an organization, is that they want the organization to thrive and they want the organization to benefit. So there's different types of views on how that might be. And of course, there's strategic level positions, there's managerial positions, there's more so of the content creation position. So everyone has their role and responsibilities to fit in within that outcome. So in terms of where we see things is the clear KPIs of, for example, increasing growth within the ecosystem. So that's a very general KPI, but that can be the outcomes of many different types of jobs that can be done is limitless. So everyone has their own way and direction, and we pick the one that works best and focus in on that. So it's very maneuverable, where people have the ability to experiment on how do we get more people in, and typically everyone is in alignment on seeing where the growth potential is.
Okay, that's helpful. Now, going back to the survey, we saw that some people are quite ready to join such an organization. Some people are hesitant, skeptical. Some people are not ready. What kind of personality do you think it takes to succeed in an organization that is decentralized?
I see that there were a lot of people within an organization, different cultures, and I've seen, especially within Metis, we have around a 50 to 60 person organization, so a smaller one, but still enough to see a lot of the diverse backgrounds. And I think that one of the key personalities would be ones that have previously worked for a traditional organization. They might have gotten the experience on maybe top-down hierarchical structures. They might have got experience in terms of what the expectations and results-oriented structures are, but they're looking for more. They're looking for more autonomy. They're looking for less of that micromanagement. They're looking at more so of doing and producing and doing what they think is valuable. And that we see leads to immense growth for both the organizational and the personal approach. Because if people are passionate about doing what they want to do, then that benefits everyone that they would produce the results for.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions I had. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
Yes, I would want to just give a brief context in terms of a decentralized autonomous organization and what types of differences there might be. So there's more organizations that can be more decentralized, right? Can be more flat. And I think that, and there can also be organizations which are more hierarchical. I think that there is that range of different types of organizations in a decentralized autonomous organization that can fit the best needs for any type of organizational structure, like a hybrid model where people can choose the best decision that works for their team. And so I think that having that ability to choose what type of structure is best for the team is one of the core ethos of a decentralized autonomous organization.
All right. Thank you. That's very helpful, Pavel. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Gleb.
And thank you to the viewers and listeners of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you checked us out, and please leave a review. It helps us improve the show and helps other people find the show. It would be a kindness. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.